late. She's running a little late. But we are looking forward to sipping and spilling some tea. Dr. DeAngela Burns-Wallace. Yes. And she's going to spill a little tea about her wonderful book, Made for This. Lessons in Leadership, Legacy, and Living Unapologetically. Yes, I'm so excited about it. I'm very excited. Yes. We do not own the rights to any music that is being played, but we're just glad that we can listen to it and enjoy it. Yes. Yes. So how's everybody doing today? How's everybody? Look, we got a singer up in here. Don't quit your day job. You know what they used to say.
Or the part-time one.
None of the above.
Do not quit that day job. That's what they say. Oh my God. Yeah, did you guys have a good week?
It was a good week.
It was a busy weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, the weekend was busy.
Well, the week was
Yeah.
busy as well as my weekend.
And your weekend? Yeah, oh, we had an exciting venture with our sister today. This entrepreneur with her charcuterie. Yes, she hosted a fabulous event today. We have a guest coming in back there saying hey. One of our regulars that's here. Yeah, so Alicia, how was your week?
Busy.
Yeah, work.
Busy. I had arbitration, and then the arbitration
Sounds like our guest maybe here.
decided to
Let me see.
cancel the last minute.
I'll see if our guest is here. Yeah, go
Behind
ahead.
the camera. Behind the camera, ma'am. Switch behind the
It's
camera.
okay, it's okay.
That way.
Right.
I can get it.
No, you're fine. We're gonna give
So-
her some home training.
Alicia had arbitration
That was this week. Yeah,
this
this
week.
week prepping for arbitration, and this weekend I helped my beautiful sister.
Me, they helped me. I'm the beautiful one. I'm the beautiful one. You are the beautiful. Tip.
What did you do this weekend?
I got sick, y'all. I got
Cookies?
sick. No, it wasn't cookies.
A virus?
I think it was something I ate, and I was sick all week. But I got well enough to help my sister.
Me. I'm the beautiful one. It was me.
I was not gonna miss the opportunity to help her, but I felt better over the weekend, and here I am today.
So, my week, it was a regular, normal summer school, Boys and Girls Club week, but this weekend, I was invited to sponsor an event that's actually going on right now. It's called Sip and Tell, a women's tea, and so they asked me if I would sponsor something from my business, charcuterie, and so what they helped me do was put together these charcuterie teacups. And so we had to put together like 160 of them, and it was great. It was fun. It was a lot of work. Forgetting things, having to go back to the same store twice within 20 minutes of each other. Even with the list, I still forgot stuff. But it was fun, and having help, my sisters and other people came in and helped. It was great. It made it go by faster, and actually made the event on time, because I wouldn't have made it by myself. Cutting cheese and rolling salami, it's tedious, and if you don't have help,
Perfection.
you literally will be up all night, trying to do this. So, cheers.
So, if you ever have an event, a birthday party, just a
Baby
day,
showers.
maybe just a date.
But just because, you just breathe.
Or you're just sitting at home watching a movie.
Hit me up.
Call Terry Harris with charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
Charcuterie. I can't say it, y'all.
Charcuterie. Charcuterie.
Guess who's here? Guess who's here? Guess who's here? Guess who's here?
I know my mama already said.
Guess who's here?
And the moment has come, everybody. our guest is
Yes,
here.
no, we got another guest.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we
Dr.
have our guest.
DeAngela Burns-Wallace. Hello, hello. Oh, this is so fun. This is cute. Oh my goodness. I love that. I'm not, my book slid. It just slid to the back. It's okay. Y'all got one.
We got a couple here ready for you. Yeah.
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. It's so great to have you.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
We're so happy. We're just transitioning. We have another guest coming that wants to have a seat. Yep.
Yeah, so I will give a shout out. My best friend from college, who actually is in the book, are you going to join us on screen?
Are you going to join?
She's like, I ain't doing all that. So she was in town, hanging out for the weekend. She's actually in the book. I talk about my best friend, Allison. And she said, don't put your purse on the floor. We were raised.
Did you leave that chair?
We were raised better that we don't put our purses on the
Can you
table.
have that chair? And there's one back there. Yeah. No.
But she's in town for the weekend. She came in to hang out with me this weekend. We went to the World Cup game. Had a great time. But we were laughing because our children have become like brothers and sisters, and they are interwoven with each other. And she has 3 girls, who are my goddaughters, and my son. They're all teenagers. And she told her 2 girls, well, I told my son, oh, Auntie Allison is coming in this weekend. And he looked at me and said, by herself? And then apparently her girls asked her, why are you going to Kansas City without us? And we were like, we had a relationship before y'all.
Exactly.
Like, we go back, right? So, but it is fun to have her join me today. So.
Welcome, Allison.
I'm sorry, Crystal, before you get started.
Okay.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. Yeah. Look, can you show it? Show
Do I need
it.
to bring my bag?
We gotta show it. I'll get it. I'm gonna show it.
I don't know what I did.
You talking about the big bag? Get the big bag. Look, we gonna show everything.
I know, she just so.
I know. I'm high right now. Cause I'm just so glad that she
So,
took time to
Okay, so
be here.
this bag is mine. So we did do some merch, so I have like t-shirts and sweatshirts and lapel pins, and I brought each of you a lapel pin today. That said made for this, but this one was made actually specifically for me because I was carrying so much junk around, and my team was like, you gotta stop putting your junk in like random bags. And so they made me this bag, so it's like branded when I show up.
Okay.
And so the fun part is I keep all my book-related stuff, like it is like compartmentalized in my life. So I keep all my book-related stuff in here. So when I have to walk out the door, I know my book is there, I know my notes are there, anything I need. But yes, shout out to my team. I was not trying to do merch, but they are like all excited. I will let them know you like the bag in case they decide they want to create this as well. So, but now I gotta move it because I can't, but I can't put it on
You
the
got
floor.
it. Okay.
Cause
That's
you're
why I'm
not-
excited. I'm gonna have it on.
You-
I'll be busy. But before we begin, I have to ask this question. On our podcast, we generally ask this question. What y'all sipping on today? What y'all sipping on? We do have you some water.
That's what I need.
Yes. I think everyone has water today. I have water.
It's so hot out.
It's so hot.
And hydrate, that hydration. I just came back. I was speaking at Aspen Ideas for the first time. It was an amazing experience. Aspen Ideas is where it brings together national thought leaders on any number of topics. And I did a couple of sessions there, and I had the worst altitude sickness that I have had like ever. And I am still trying to get that hydration back. And so drink your water, drink your water, drink your water. So thank you for that.
And also eat your water.
Watermelons.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, watermelon.
We got you something too.
Yes.
This is so cute. I just have to say, y'all have inspired me. I'm like,
Oh,
this is fun.
So actually, before we dive into questions, I
I'm gonna read some of your bio. For people out there that may not know, I don't know what world you're living in, but we have a very accomplished woman here, that black girl magic right up in here with Dr. DeAngela Burns-Wallace. Make sure I say it all correctly. All right, so Dr. DeAngela has a dynamic career that spans global diplomacy. Y'all heard me, diplomacy. We're not talking about local, not even just here in the United States. Okay, global diplomacy, higher education, state government, and national philanthropy. Across every sector she served, she has led large-scale value-driven change and is widely recognized for her ability to align strategy with mission for lasting impact. I'll speak to being a part of your lasting impact later. Okay. Y'all know I'm just excited. I can't help it. Okay, so she currently serves as president and CEO of the Human Marion Kaufman Foundation, where she leads efforts to expand equitable economic mobility for all. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. Before entering philanthropy, she had cabinet-level appointments as Secretary of Administration and Chief Information Technology Officer for the state of Kansas, roles in which she modernized systems, shaped policy, and steered organizations through crises and transformation. I'm just too excited to have you here. Okay. A first-generation college graduate. That's what I'm talking about. See, she's shaking early on. Okay. Anyway, Burns-Wallace began her career as a U.S. diplomat with postings in China and South Africa. She later held executive leadership roles at the University of Kansas and the University of Missouri, where she championed access, belonging, and student success. Throughout her journey, she has remained a mentor, strategist, and passionate advocate for those ready to lead boldly and live intentionally. I love that. That's one of my favorite words. Made for This is her invitation. All right, that's right. Her invitation to anyone who wants to lead a life of purpose, not perfection. It is a call to rise, reflect, and own the path you were born to walk. Yes. Burns-Wallace, Dr. DeAngela. Can I say Dr. DeAngela? Okay. Dr. DeAngela holds degrees from Stanford University, Princeton University, and University of Pennsylvania. She is a doctor now. Y'all know that. That's a lot of degrees. She lives in Kansas with her son and retired parents and continues to speak and write on leadership, impact, and systems change. So give it up for Dr. DeAngela! Oh, so excited. I know I can be too much sometimes.
I love it though. I was asking, I was like, does she do this all the time? And they were like, yes. I love the energy. And you know, like, I will just be honest, and I know we got questions, but there is something to, and I talk a lot about this in the book, lifting others, celebrating others. So please know that, like, I appreciate this opportunity. I don't take it lightly. But when you pour into others, when you lift others, you lift yourself, right? You lift community. And so thank you all for having me. We met at a Black Girl Fit, a Black Women Fit on a Saturday morning, and y'all had y'all cute t-shirts on. I was like, I want a cute t-shirt, and they were like, we got a podcast, and I was like, I want to be on the podcast, and they said yes, and it took us 4 months, because my schedule is this side of crazy, but I appreciate your patience and the invitation.
Oh, thank you. No, we appreciate you. You are busy, lady, so busy. You're doing so much for our city. I have always been, just from your example, but especially even working as executive director of Kaufman, you're doing so much for our city, you know, leading by example, that we're just excited you're here. So, no, thank you for joining us.
Yes, so humble.
Yes, we
Because you
are.
have such a busy schedule and to come on our podcast.
Oh, I've been
We
looking
see
forward
you
to this.
We are like, we keep them
Right. We've been busy, but it was like, okay, we got to hurry up. It's done because we got things to do.
I love it.
Yes. All right, so
where we going?
Which way we going? Which way we gonna start?
Where we gonna go?
Okay, I get to start. Okay, first, the wonderful book Made for This. I just want to ask, because I haven't really looked, I tried to hide my notes. I said, I don't want her to see me looking like a student.
No, I'm an educator first, so I love a student. A book is supposed to, I am still a person who loves like a book, a physical book, because I write in the margins, I highlight, I put, the little, like, I dog ear pages that I want to come back to. And I know you can do some of those things in a digital form, but there was
But
something.
it takes too long to kind of go back.
Yeah.
In the book, you can just go,
Open it up, so.
It's called bookmarking visual. You have to bookmark.
I don't like it.
You have to save it.
You know what I like?
Yeah, that's too much.
I like it.
I just need to be able to pick it
Bookmarks
up.
never saved, so I don't know what happened to them.
See?
Or I can't find the book later, or just
Right.
all the things. So I'm like, I'm good on the book. So I love that I see note cards and highlights and dog ears and all of that. So where we starting?
I have to say first that it really was inspirational. There were certain parts that I'm gonna ask about later, but that I was like, I could make connections.
I hope so.
And then also, I thought it was inspiring, to really be self-reflective
Mhm.
and to think about your journey. Okay, so I just want to say that first. But then, what I was going to ask is your inspiration about starting it, because you had it in your mind from what I read for a while back. So where did that come from first, and then what gave you that push to really, really get it on out there?
So I think for me, I do a lot of speaking engagements. You all saw me speaking. I've done that for years. And I always have individuals, young people, women, leaders, whoever I'm speaking to, that'll come up afterwards and they're like, oh, I need a mentor. And my capacity isn't real that I can be an effective mentor. But they're like, I want to meet with you and learn about your journey. Or, oh my God, you had some of the most amazing lessons or stories. You should write a book, right? And with that, I was like, I don't know, I should write a book, right, maybe. But along the way, because I also am an educator at my heart, and I love the idea of building leaders because I think that is very real. And I think in this day and age, it is so important, like in our community. I talk early on in the book about growing up in my church. And in my church, I went to, convention. And at, church convention was where I learned Robert's Rules of Order and how to run a meeting and, how to stand up and make an argument and give a speech. On Sunday, the fifth Sunday was Youth Sunday, and we ran in church, right? I was an usher, right? All things. But we learned to stand up in front of that church and to command the service, right? And I think that in some pockets and spaces, we've lost that creating spaces for our young people, for our young adults, even for our young professionals, the intentionality around we actually have to teach people how to lead. And so for me, part of this book is sharing so many of the lessons that mentors and colleagues have poured into me. I do it through my story, but it is about, these are lessons about how you lead, how you show up, how you treat people. And my hope is that people do see themselves in it, that they see it as something to remind themselves of their strength, of what they need to build, where they need to grow, how they lead, and how important that is. And so it culminated, I think, in a book because I didn't know how else to get it out. I didn't know how else to share that. And I don't know, for most people, the idea that you would then turn that into a book doesn't make sense. But for me, it made perfect sense.
That's that educator.
I know.
Other people would have been like, that's too much work. Write a book.
So that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, next.
In the book, it says DeAngela's experience shed light on the fact that without diverse voices at the leadership table, organizations are not equipped to deal with the issues of race, equity, and inclusion. And we know that's been removed by somebody.
Yeah.
What is your stand on that now? It's like
There's no difference of a stance. I really believe, and as I said in the book, is that you have to have diverse voices, perspectives, experiences, particularly when my career has been primarily in the public sector. And when you are in the public sector, you are in service to a community doing work. It is so critical and important when you are shaping policies, when you are leveraging resources into communities, that you have diverse representation of different people and pockets in that community. Otherwise, as you are shaping those policies, you don't have the perspective to understand what may be the impact, what may be unintended consequences, how those communities will receive, or what their needs might be. And so one of the things is I know that, DEI has turned into something that in some places have been weaponized, in some places have been diminished. It's not about the words DE or I. What it is about is that if you are working in service to a community, the idea that that community is not part of the decision making, that those voices, that those you are serving, that those that you are working with, that those that you are building for, that perspective is not at the table, means that you are not going to be as an effective organization. The reality, if you look at companies that are very successful, they know their market, right? They don't know one market, they know their market. They know the people in the market, they know how they move, they know what they want, they know how they come in it. That's how that business continues to be successful. All that I argue is that any organization, particularly those that are in service, needs to understand their market. And understanding your market means you have to have different voices and perspectives around the table that is shaping your decision making. It makes you better, stronger, more effective, more impactful.
Businesses. Some of y'all let us go.
It's a thing, but the reality is that any organization, any company, to be successful, it really does have to be responsive. And to be responsive, the best way to be responsive is to actually have those perspectives that are shaping the decisions that you're making. So.
It was on the news earlier today, this morning, a channel on the news, and they were talking about this particular store that removed the DEI and the losses they have incurred since they took that out. And it's like, wow, their profits dropped significantly.
But again, as a company, understanding who is your market base, right? And so with that, and in this time and period, sometimes we get hung up on the words being a certain way or certain things being present. The words are the words, and people are gonna lean in or lean away or whatever. For me, it is about that organization may not have done as good of a job of understanding who exactly their market was and how strong that market's affinity was for certain aspects of how they were doing that work, right? So there and again, we can turn it into they must have this or they must have that, but at the end of the day, they didn't do a good job of understanding like who they were serving, right? Who their market was. And that's just, again, thinking about who that is a great place for, as a leader, you need to look around and understand, like, who is your client? Who are you serving? Who is representative in your employees even, right? And are you creating space to hear them, to understand them, to be reflective of what they need and what their needs are? Those are the types of things that make you a strong leader.
I'm gonna go back, think about the leadership and the subtitle in your book is Lessons in Leadership, Legacy, and Living Unapologetically. So, with those specific words, specifically the unapologetically, I do want to ask, what made you decide to have that as part of your subtitle for your book?
So, so first of all, the whole writing a book, picking titles, like designs is a thing. Like that's a whole nother show. Like you want to write a book, like that's a whole thing, right? One of the things about in creating something, a product, which a book is, you want it to resonate. You want it to capture people. You want it to pull them in. And in doing so, when you walk back through when I really started to pull apart kind of what I hoped the book was doing and what it was sharing, the reason it's lessons in leadership, legacy, and living unapologetically is because I do think that all three of those are interwoven, right, for me, at least in my journey. And the living unapologetically is not so much of like, I'm just doing whatever I want, irrespective of someone. It starts with the actual title, Made for This. The idea is that not to apologize for who and what you are, what you are made to do, right? But seriously, right? Sometimes we dim our light in certain places because people are uncomfortable with the way that we were made to show up and the work that we were made to do. And so the living apologetically is not necessarily designed to be some affront or this, ignoring people or being so bold that I never apologize for anything. It's living unapologetically in what you were made for, right? Saying this is my journey and this is my path, and that I'm not gonna apologize for showing up as, who I am. I talk in the book about being in places and spaces, particularly when I was coming through college, where I was affirmed that I didn't have to choose between excellence and intelligence and all of these things that I was told I was when I was told I was the smart kid, and being black. But that black was excellent. And that idea of, being a woman, being a young black woman from the Midwest, being that young black woman from the Midwest who loved to think and create new knowledge, that all of those things were okay and that I could walk in them. So the living unapologetically interwoven with being that leader, with understanding and creating a legacy in the work that you do, to me ties back to the main title, that we were made for certain things. There are gifts that are bestowed upon us that we are supposed to pour in and that we are to lift. And that it is okay not to apologize for what those are and walking in those gifts.
So your title of your book reminds me of, I was at a women's conference, and the speaker, that's exactly what she spoke of. And so in her speech, she talked about how we're built for this.
Yes.
We trained for this.
Yes.
And all of those that have finished, like, and we were made for this.
Right.
So when I saw the title, I was like, I've heard this somewhere before. And then as I was listening to you talk, I said, that's where I heard it from. She was speaking on how we as women in ministry, in our lives, in our work, everywhere we are, we've been trained from little girls. We've been trained for this. We've built for this. We were, all these things. We were made for this. So it's in whatever position you are in your life, you were made to be there.
For that moment, for that work.
To do that. So that's just something.
Even when we fail,
Even
we were made for that moment, right? Because we gotta be careful in being made for this or saying that we're living unapologetically for that individual, and that individual is us as well, that sometimes when we are struggling, if we feel like, okay, this is for like when I'm hitting my stride and I'm doing great things and I can stand up and say I'm made for this. Well, I hope that I share a little bit of my journey that says, like, not all the things that I went through. Oh, you flipping to that chapter? Y'all, it's about to get real. I wrote it, I stand by it. But I will say that it is, and particularly in this day and age of social media, right? You see the quick post. You see the cute selfie picture, right? You see the person who's at this or that, and you're sitting there and you're like, I'm struggling, I'm trying to make ends meet, I'm trying to figure out my career, I'm trying to, figure out my next, I'm trying to figure out my marriage or my relationship, I'm trying to work with my children and it's not going the way I thought it would. And then you scroll through and you're like, oh, my life is a mess and their life is beautiful. But the reality is that scroll is what people snap put on there, because it's not cute to put on there when you're in that room and crying, or when you can't see that direction or that path, or when you can't, as I say in one of the chapters, when I come home, I'm an assistant dean of admissions at Stanford University. I am traveling all over the world representing one of the most premier institutions in the world. And I am recruiting students, and I am at one of the highest leadership levels. And I came home and my lights was off. Right? But that reality was my reality, right? And that's the part that we have to be careful in sharing our stories and thinking about where we are on our journeys and being sure that we are, one, being honest with each other and with ourselves, but two, understanding that the failures are part of the lesson, that the failures are the things that make us even stronger. The only way you understand and see and recognize the success or the joy, I talk a lot about joy in this book, is if you have gone through the storm. That is how it is made.
I was gonna say, I love the fact that you shared that you were in a high position, but yet you came home and your lights were out. That lets people know everything is not cream. That once you get to the top, that everything is smooth sailing. You still have those speed bumps and things like that. But I do want to ask you, because you're very accomplished, how has that affected where you're so accomplished that, like you said, you're made for this, but others have been threatened by your accomplishments? How do you handle those situations?
So what I will say is, oh, can you hear? Yeah. For me, the way I have approached it is I smile as I look at my best friend Allison, is through my circle, through being grounded in a certain way with a group of individuals that are in a space and a place where I don't have to put up a wall, that I can be my most vulnerable, that when those threats come at you, that core has regrounded me so that I can remember who I am and whose I am, right? And in those moments, you make those phone calls, or as I talk about, you get on a plane if you have to, and you show up. And I have been blessed to have a circle, both personally and professionally, that has shown up, that has leaned in when I have let them in. Because that's where we gotta be careful. We want also, even with those that are closest to us, sometimes we don't want them to see the cracks because we want them to be proud of us. We don't want them to think we're struggling. My reality is that when those threats come, that's when you need those that you trust and that know you the best, the closest, because they become your armor. They become your balance, because the threats are gonna come. And you have to be prepared for them, but they still hurt, right? The threats hurt. People don't know you, the way they talk about you, the way they characterize you, the assumptions that they make about you. I'm from Kansas City, born and raised. I grew up right around the corner on 66 in Indiana. Like, this is my neighborhood, right? Where I grew up, my dad and mom grew up down off of like 37th and 38th of Indiana and Belfast. Like that was their neighborhood. This is all of where I grew up in. But when you read my bio and you see so many different things that I have done, people make assumptions, right? People make assumptions no matter if the people in the room look like you or they don't, right? And so because of that, you have to have that protection. You have to know who you are walking into those spaces. And it doesn't mean you don't waver. It doesn't mean sometimes you don't question. But for me, that grounding comes back to that core circle of individuals that remind me where I came from, who I am, whose I am, what I'm supposed to be doing, why I'm supposed to be doing, and celebrate me unequivocally, no questions asked, every day, all day.
That's what I said. That just made me think of
the book where you talked about Susan Rice. I have a big mouth. I have a big mouth. They know I do. That's why I can say it about myself. I speak very loudly, but I'll put my notes. But that just reminds me in your book where you speak about like coming into spaces. Yes. And that the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Susan Rice, she told you about taking your seat, making sure you take a seat. That just makes me think of that because sometimes we don't. Like you say, we'll either lower our own pride or not show all of our ability and sink in. And so just reading that, that's why I say some of those things, when you're in certain spaces, especially I can't even imagine being across the globe, just to have that in your ear or that to reflect on for someone to get. I just wanted to comment about that because I thought that was great too. I have my notes. I got a lot of stuff in here, but I'm gonna let some of the other ladies speak. Okay. Yes, I think I might.
Give me this.
We've been friends since we were little.
Clearly. I got them too. I understand. She just be like, give me that. But you love her
Yes.
deeply. Okay.
One thing I really love is, I love the whole book, but your chapters or songs.
Yes.
And we have this thing where one of us will say something, and we'll break out and start singing. So if you explain, I'm telling like nobody has read it.
That's okay. That's okay.
You explain your music, the chapters of music, what actually encouraged you to do that? How did you come up with so many? It's 31 chapters, y'all.
It is.
So the songs, how did you come up with the songs for the chapters? I love it because she would say something and we would start singing, and we all start singing.
But that's because music is a powerful tool. Music, music therapy and things like that. It unleashes things in your spirit, in your body. And I love music. And I feel like I walk through my life with a soundtrack playing in my head, and I share that. And there's different stories in here, and I try to share a little bit of it, but I talk about like when I worked at the state and I knew I was going, to stand in front of the legislators and it was going to be a 3-hour grueling battle, right? To me, like I'm going into war, right? So I'm going into war music. So I would joke, I would start, because I lived about 45 minutes from our state capital in Topeka. And I get on the highway on 70, I'm on that turnpike and I'm rolling. And I would start with like Yolanda Adams, right? And Kurt Franklin. But by the time I got to Topeka, I was with Ludacris and because I had to be ready for battle. But I started and I climbed, right? But by the time I stood in front of them, I had to be like, let's go, right? And so that's how my brain works, right? I remember when I first started my job at KU, and it was coming home for me. I had spent my career all over the world, all over the nation. And when I took the job at KU as vice provost for undergraduate studies, it was the first time I had a position in Kansas City, in this region. It was coming home. And by this time, I'm well into my 40s. I've spent my entire professional career in other places. So this coming home moment, I'm driving again down 70, headed to KU, and I'm blasting Alicia Keys. This girl is on fire, right? Because that's how I felt that when I'm home, I'm doing this, I'm a VP, like, I'm on fire, right? And so when we were like going through the book and I was working with my editor, and I said, I have all this music in my head, and when I hit a chapter, I like have songs that I think remind me of like that time or what I was going through, because I have music that when it plays, it was what I was playing over and over, like, and I joke about, I don't talk much about it, but, in the book I do mention that, like, and you hear about my childhood boyfriend who became my husband, who then became my ex-husband, as my child's father and all these things. But I joke about, I'm like, I don't talk about it much, but if he had a full chapter, it would be, probably Usher and Convictions, right? And then we don't have to talk about what's in the chapter, you know everything. But that's what music does for us. Yes. But it's that idea of music evokes these emotions and these memories. So when I was writing, I had this idea. I said, when I'm done, I'm gonna do a Spotify playlist of like all the songs that came to me when I was remembering different parts. And she said, well, we should find a way to incorporate that instead of it being an afterthought. So I thought about a bonus chapter of just music or all of this. And then I was like, what if the music like leads? I was like, because when you hear the first beat of that one song, like, I mean, you know, you think of like certain songs and you know that beat hits like Mary J. Blige, that at the beginning of Real Up, that dun, 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 and you know what that is. And you start, you ain't heard a word, you ain't heard a voice, but then your shoulders start this, and you start bouncing, and you like know what's coming, right? And so I'm like, what if we lead in every chapter with like giving you just that little where you're thinking about it and you start to sway or bounce. So with that, I really thought it was just gonna be like at the beginning of the chapters, and as we kept writing, my editor, when she saw it, I was struggling to find chapter titles. I found all the music, but I was really struggling to then put a title on the chapter, you know, that made sense. And I said, what if I just use the songs? And she said, why not? The funny thing about doing something like this, your own type of project, there are no rules. So there's not somebody who says like, oh, you can't do that. The only thing the publisher said was that I can only use so many sentences, so many stanzas from the music, because otherwise you gotta pay for copyright. So those are the types of things you gotta understand, right? But the titles, and so for me, it was just opening up like that soundtrack. And if you go through it, for those who haven't read it, I mean, we have everything from, you know, My Love, New Edition, Can You Stand the Rain, to This Girl Is on Fire, Celebration, Money, Power, and Respect, Glory, you know, I Hope You Dance, Who Runs the World?
Girls.
Thank you. You know, I Can See Clearly Now. You know, in my acknowledgments with Bette Midler, Wind Beneath My Wings, because my brother, who is one of my biggest champions, he's 5 years younger than me, he always tells me like, you know, you're the wind beneath my wings. And in my acknowledgments, I acknowledge that no, he's my wind, and that everyone that I acknowledge is a part of lifting me. So that's the story, but we did build that Spotify playlist. If you follow me on Instagram, Dr. DeAngela, you can find my Spotify playlist, but I challenge everybody to make their own, right? Like, what is the soundtrack you hear as you are moving to and through? And in different seasons, we need different things.
Yes.
But music brings me just kind of comfort and peace and energy and excitement and joy and everything in between.
And see, for your intro song, I had Alicia Keys' Superwoman.
See, there's another one, right? But the funny part is you asked about how did I come up with all of these. The funnier part is that I had more music than I had chapters. And so literally I had to cut, you know, songs out, and then I had to make them. And I had made list of songs. That's where I started, like all of these songs that inspired me. And then I was writing, and I actually would go back and identify the songs after the chapters were complete to ensure that the songs matched on to the chapter. So it was actually a two-step process where I just like, I did all my music, and then I wrote, and then I would go back and marry them together. And like I said, I still have a whole list of songs that I couldn't incorporate. It is 31 chapters. They're short chapters. I will say that it sounds like a lot. I hear that it is a fun, quick read.
It really is.
And
Which,
for me, I was singing, and like, okay, you gotta read. Start off with a song, with the chorus, I'm like, I love it, let's sing it.
It is a quick read, and it's very engaging.
So you've achieved success in so many arenas. What accomplishments are you most proud of that do not appear on the list?
Other than your son.
because you know that's where I was going.
We
I
all
was
have,
like,
we
listen.
all have sons.
That we all have boys.
Yes.
So we gotta have had that boy, my mom. I got a 17-year-old boy that like I was like, if I make it through the day where he don't call me bruh, I'm like, yes.
I'm right there with you, mine is 18.
No.
Texted me now because I remember you saying that thing. He's like, I'm in a big meeting, you talking about what's to eat? And I said, I'm right there with her.
Yes, I was like, yes, all things. Like today, I was walking down and he was like, you gonna sit in that the chicken? Like I want some, okay, I got you. It's all things. So what is, I would say, one of the things that I am most proud of, and there are hints at it in the book, but there's no way to truly capture it. Throughout my career, I have tried to invest in lots of people. When I was on university campuses, it made me my students. In any of my roles, always my staff, my leadership. When I look around in the various pockets and spaces that I've been in, and I look at the number of either my students or my former team that are now leading their own teams, leading their own initiatives, that have doctorates, because I love that, particularly for peoples of color that want to aspire to actually achieve that. And I have written many a letter of recommendation along that vein. And so I get like giggles and joy when I see a staff member that used to work for me, and I can say that I'm a little piece of that journey, that I hope that I inspired them in some way. That for me, and seeing them lead all over the world in many different levels and places, and leading is not just about a title, I talk about that as well, but it's how they show up, how they're showing up in community, the work that they're doing, all of those things. That I really, I love it. There's no real way to capture it, but when I see it, I know it, and that really makes me proud.
And you saying that, I had someone invest in me when I became a supervisor and then a manager. And what I loved about her was she never sugarcoated anything. She would tell me if I was wrong, well, you could have did it this way, you could have said it that way. And she was investing in me to be a good leader, to be a good manager. And I'm still in management. And it really shocked me when one of the young ladies that I used to supervise so many years ago, she was retiring. And she came to me and she said, you don't know how you inspired me. And I was so shocked. But it let me know you never know who wants you.
Exactly.
You know, because during her period of being a supervisor, she would come to me and tell me what was happening. And now listening to you, I didn't know I was investing in her.
Because someone invested in you, and that is the point. You may not be able to even name it or understand that that's what you're doing, but when we lead a certain way, we actually are teaching the next generation of leaders how to show up, how to treat people, right? How to invest. And whether they can articulate that or it has a name or they know it's that or not is irrelevant. And that's why you always, it's, I start the book in my granny's kitchen, and I do that purposefully because she was one of those people that you just treat people with kindness. Like, whatever you got, you have 5 more than another person. So you may not have 100, but if you got 5 and they got 3, that means you got more and you got to do something. Period. Like, no person, you be like, Granny, but I only got 5. They got 3, they close. That wasn't my granny. She's like, no. They got less than you. Right. No. For my granny, it means if you had more, then you had a responsibility to do more, to lean in. If we lead like that, think about the number of leaders. I say leaders. I don't use the word managers and supervisors, but everybody that holds that title is not leading. But true, we know that.
clocked a little bit, a lot of things on that. She was clocking it.
But all, like a true leader that you have seen and how they treated people, how they made you feel, right? And it's like strong, impactful leaders, like the reality is that like I can walk around and be present and take pictures and do all this. I can't get any of the work done that I'm responsible for unless I have a strong, effective team. And I need that team to understand and know that it's not about me, but that it is about them, right? But there's also a reality that I sit in roles and seats that I am the public face of my organization, that I have to show up in certain ways. So I also have to be very intentional and demonstrate to that team their importance. Because you can't always be sitting next to me. You can't always be in the places that I'm gonna be. You can't be quoted where I'm quoted. That's part of my role, and that's the weight that I carry. But my job also as that leader is to make sure I'm then creating space, environment, acknowledgement, recognition, opportunity, investment, development that ensures that they know that they are valued and that this work wouldn't happen without them. That's the type of thing that we have to be intentional about. That's what we have to show, demonstrate, and then train this next generation or even a current generation. Like, please know I wrote this and I tell people, and I say it in here, it's for that up and coming leader, but it's also for that seasoned leader. Sometimes we need renewal. Sometimes we need affirmation that you are doing the right thing and being in the right space, right? And because of that, like my hope is that whether you're that up and coming leader, you're that seasoned leader, you're in a season where you need renewing, refreshing, you're in a season where you just need affirmation that, yep, you got this and you're doing it right. I hope everyone sees a little bit of peace in them. And what I say many times as we work through this is to remember that you were made for this. Like that's the end goal, is that embrace it, remember it, and don't let it go.
I have a question.
Yes. Look, we have an in-studio guest. Y'all know I always say, my honey bun, he's here. That's my husband tomorrow. He has a question. Do you need a microphone? Can you speak a little loud, please?
Hopefully you can hear me, but congratulations, thank you, and it's an honor. I wanted to speak on empowerment. How do you speak to empowerment to our black community so that we can be able to lift ourselves up within ourselves and stop waiting on somebody to say, here it is for you.
Yeah, empowerment. How do we lift ourselves and not wait on others, right?
Yeah.
That's building leaders. Like for me, it's why I do the work that I do. It's why I serve in the capacity. I still teach. The work that we do through the foundation and other pockets and spaces when I'm in community. We have to build a generation of leaders. We have to reinforce the current generation of leaders so that they are empowered, not just to be present, but that they have the tools, the knowledge, and the resources to lift and navigate and control our own communities, right? Some of the work that I do in my day job is investment in, we invest in the ecosystems for small and medium business owners.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Real quickly. I was a recipient for one of your grants for my nonprofit through Community Capital Fund.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you so I can speak as living proof of their investment in our communities. So thank you. But okay, you can go on. Thank you.
So that's part of my day job, right? And part of it why it's so important to me is that the work that I do in my day job, our founder, Mr. Kaufman, he was an entrepreneur. But he was an entrepreneur that believed that you don't need to give people a handout. You don't need to just say, okay, here's something for you. He believed that if you removed systemic barriers and gave, and gave individuals access and opportunity, right? That the individuals actually could control their own economic future. I talk a lot about that talent is actually universal, but opportunity is not. And so how do we build within our community a generation of thinkers, innovators, creators, leaders who understand that this is within our control, right? that we have to have the skills, the knowledge, the network to be able to build, grow, and sustain our own communities. And some of that is through business ownership. Some of that, I fundamentally believe, I'm an educator, is through education at its core. And whatever that means to you, K-12 training, certifications, but you gotta keep learning, right? We lost some of that, right? And learning doesn't even actually have to be through a physical program. You learn from each other. You learn from other people in the community. We've lost that idea of the sages in our community who have been through some things that you just listen to. You ain't got to do everything they say, but listening really does make a difference, right? So when I think about the Black community, whether that's in Kansas City or neighborhoods like Kansas City all over the country, I really believe that education and actually business ownership, but even more importantly, building leaders who can be in spaces and places to represent the community, who know and have the knowledge to navigate on behalf of the community, right? It is, it's not easy. In some moments when we have conversations like this, it's like we just need to take care of our own, but we also have to recognize that we have to have the access to skills and opportunities. That's why I talk about building the leaders. When this role at the foundation became available, if I hadn't have had all of the other experiences that were read through my bio, I wouldn't have been competitive to sit in this seat and to do this work. We have to prepare to be in the roles and spaces and places where we can garner and leverage resources and opportunities that benefit various communities, including our own. But that takes work, that takes preparation, that takes being ready. That also takes understanding that being ready doesn't mean that an opportunity is gonna land in your lap, right? For an opportunity, when that opportunity avails itself, we have to be ready. Thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness, we could talk all afternoon. You know, we've already been on here about an hour.
I know.
So much. Oh my goodness, this is great.
Okay, that was like 5 minutes late, so hopefully we can go at least.
Yes,
Okay.
you got it. But I was gonna ask my sisters here, because we usually do like a Black History moment, but I wanted to ask how you feeling about that. We don't have to, because you're living Black history right here, present. Yes, you are. Yes, ma'am.
Because I do have one last question that I think is a good one to ask.
Okay.
What legacy do you hope to leave through your work and your writing?
So I hope that my legacy is one of inspiration and determination for particularly because I have a son in this next generation. I hope that part of my legacy and the work that I've done throughout my career, federal government, state government, higher education, now philanthropy, but also the spaces and places in which I have shown up and volunteered and served in seats and in roles, is a model, is an inspiration for others to know that you can serve and sit in these seats, right? That I had someone ask me, for those who know, I wear tennis shoes all the time, and I have lots of tennis shoes and lots of colors and all things and lots of fun with it, right?
Dr. DeAngela, I have to say this, so you're a real tennis shoe pimp.
I try to be.
Anyway, we talked about it.
I try,
That's
right?
kind of a hood slang.
Yes. So, but someone said, like, how did you get comfortable enough, like, you know, to wear tennis shoes and, you know, and not be judged and yes, in a board meeting or whatever. And I said, now one, some of this comes with age, because you cross that 5-0 mark and you start looking at people differently, right?
Yes.
Like, my feet hurt, my calves hurt, everything in between. I go to the gym 4 days a week and I still hurt in all kinds of places and spaces, right? But I also said to this young person, I said, now look, I said, there's a reality that You can say, well, you know, if, you know, president and CEO doesn't look like that, they don't wear tennis shoes, their hair is not locked, all of these things. And my response back is, I'm a president and CEO. I've also been a secretary of a state. I've also been a vice provost of a university. I also have been a sitting trustee of one of the most premier universities in the nation. So, all of those things look like this.
That's that unapologetic right there, that part.
So that is what I hope my legacy is that this next generation doesn't see boundaries, that they don't see they can't be in certain seats or they can't show up certain ways, that they can see there are a lot of firsts in this book. I'm the first of this, I was the first of that. The roles that I held at the state of Kansas as Secretary of Administration and Chief Information Technology Officer in Governor Kelly's cabinet, I was the first African American to hold either of those cabinet level roles in the history of our state, right?
Wow, yeah.
And in that moment, we say wow and we get excited and we're like, that's great. But it's like, really? The first? In 2019?
Yes.
Right? And it's like, it's that idea of like, we want to celebrate those things, but we need to be beyond celebrating first, right? We should be in spaces and places where I'm not the first. But more importantly, and people have heard me say this, when you sit in these seats in this role, it is your responsibility to make sure you're not the last. Do things, put things in place so that you are creating an opportunity to ensure that you're not the last. That's leading. That's a legacy. Making the spaces and places and organizations not just better than you found them, but different, more dynamic, more reflective, more representative, and inspiring that next generation to understand that they can do anything. One of the most powerful things I was ever told, and it was when I was a freshman at Stanford. And so I'm 18, straight out of Kansas City, trying to find my space and my way in this big old place that is world renowned. And again, I'm just this little girl from 66. My dad was a telephone repairman and my mom was accountant clerk. We just everyday people. And I sat in a classroom where a professor told me, you are the creator of new knowledge. By the time I graduated, I believed it. And for the rest of my career, my goal was to achieve that I'm the creator. What's possible is whatever I create. How do we get the next generation to know that, believe that, understand that, and be prepared for that? That's my life's work, and that's my legacy.
And that leads us into a closing, and it's a quote from our one and only. We are each unique, multifaceted, and powerful beings that move through the life trying to learn, connect, love, and dream.
Yes. And then I have to ask if you could share where people could get this amazing book.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna give a shout out. So you can find the book on Amazon. You just type in my name, DeAngela Burns-Wallace, and it is available on Amazon. On my website, drdeangela.com, we do have a little bit of merch. There's some t-shirts, sweatshirts, and lapel pins, which I'll be sharing with all of you. But I will give just a little bit of some coming news. So we just sent to the publisher. Oh yes, I'm spelling tea. I love this.
Now this is juicy.
So I'm spelling tea. So on Friday, I released to the publisher a interactive reflection journal that is inspired by the book. So by early August, it is a reflection journal that takes you through leadership lessons. You don't have to have read the book, but it challenges you to ask yourself, how do I be courageous and compassionate? How do I make sure that I'm lifting as I climb? How do I think about just building that legacy and understanding that my leadership journey is intentional? So it takes you through a series of exercises, fun, short, that really help you think about and remind you to remember you were made for this.
Hey, for this, you heard it here. You got all that tea. So get the book, and then get the reflective journal. Look, we gotta get ours. We just
So because I'm like, spilling this tea, like those will be in the mail as soon as they're available.
Oh, yes, and we will use them. And we have a t-shirt for you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, we also have some snacks.
When you
What's on
mentioned doing,
Look,
having
see,
your
keep
your
going.
staff, the knowledge of your staff,
Yes.
we were staffed this weekend for our one and own.
Yes.
She has her own business.
Yes.
And we were her staff and had to put that together. So we got acknowledged by her today and said she appreciated us, and she didn't have got it done without us.
Most important.
Having those circles.
But thank you. Yeah, so I see the snacks, the sipping, and the t-shirt. I am thankful. I am thankful for you creating this space. I'm thankful for the invitation. We have to control our own narrative. We have to continue to tell our own stories. When we don't tell our stories, other people create the stories of who we are and what we're doing and what our communities are. So thank you all for creating a space for our stories to be shared and for the engagement and the entertainment and most importantly, just the love. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the